Hey, we have some building to do. It's time to get under construction and start building our faith. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, I'm Pastor Jim, and I am here to talk about another great message that we had this past Sunday. And I hope you all are doing well, and let's get right into it. So there's a new theme that we're dealing with for this month, and we have to build something. We have to improve something. And the thing that we have to do is that we have to improve what God has given us. We have to go under construction and fix ourselves. And so the title of the series and this particular message is Undergoing Construction, Build Your Faith. Now, in terms of building your faith, I want to start here with Hebrews chapter 11, and I want to deal with verse 1 and verse 2. And Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 and 2 says, "Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see." And verse 2 says, "This is what the ancients were commended for, certain of the things that we hope for, being sure of the things that we hope for, believing the things that we hope for, and being certain of the things that we do not see." I asked a question on Sunday, and I said, just as an example of this, if you're sitting in your favorite room, it's your favorite room, and the power goes out, how many of you all could tell me the furniture that is in that room? Many of you all could probably say confidently, well, we have 2 chairs and a sofa in that room and a television. And no matter how much I told you that it was 1 chair and a sofa and a television, you would say, no, I know without a doubt that it is 2 chairs. I can't see it, but I do know that that chair is over there. That is a form of faith. Now, another form of faith that I said was that, okay, well, what about if the lights were out? Could you walk over from one side of the room to the other and not bump into any of it? You know exactly where it's at. Could you walk confidently in that room, even though you couldn't see, and not bump into anything? That is a level of great faith. So let me talk about this. The scripture says that faith is very important to our belief. Faith is very important to us being a believer. Faith is necessary for us to be children of God. And it says here in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6, and it says, without faith, it is impossible to please God, because he or anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists, and he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Without faith, if you don't have faith, if you don't have that belief, it is impossible to please God. Because even the faith of the things that we believe alone, the whole thing is built on the fact that we believe something even though we can't see it. The Tyndale Bible Dictionary describes faith as this: faith is belief in that which has no tangible proof. It is trust in God. Now, something that has no tangible proof, even though we can't see it, we still believe that it is there. So without a doubt, believing something, even though you can't see it, what it's telling us is that faith is believing something even without all of the answers. You believe something even without all the answers of having a particular thing. And we can see throughout the Bible multiple times of Jesus commenting on faith, and we even have examples of him showing faith. And I want to show one of them to you right now. In Mark chapter 11, verses 12 through 14, it says, the next day as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Now y'all watch this boldness right here. Verse 13, seeing in the distance a fig tree in the leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. And when he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, may no one ever eat from you again. And his disciples heard him say it. Now after this, we all know that Jesus left that particular place. They went into the temple, and this is where they were selling all of those things that had no business being in the temple. People were there for the wrong reasons, doing the wrong things. This is where Jesus overturned the tables, and he whipped the people and got them out the temple. Something happens the next day, though. In verse 20, it talks about this. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the root. Verse 21 says, Peter remembered and said to Jesus, Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed was withered. The tree, it was cursed, it was dead. Verse 22 says, have faith in God. This is how Jesus responds to Peter noticing what happened. Have faith in God, he said. Verse 23, I tell you the truth, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for him. Verse 24, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe you have received it, and it will be yours. Now remember, Jesus knew all of these things already. He knew the disciples were watching him. And so things happened in the way that they did, in the process that they did, for the disciples to start to learn that it's not just about the words, but it's also the boldness that it requires as well too. And I said this on Sunday, and this is very important as well too. Faith is what transforms our words into commands. Mark 11:23, Jesus said this already. I tell you the truth, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for him. If anyone goes and says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea. So we say the words. But it also says it's not just about saying the words, but also doesn't have any doubt in his heart. He fully believes that it will happen, then it will. So it's the words and not having doubt. So we can say the words, but if we have doubt, then it won't happen. What we see from this is that doubt, unbelief, whatever you want to call it, this is what kills our faith. If you remember Peter in the boat in Matthew chapter 14, what it says here in verse 25, it says, during the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to him walking on the lake. Now remember, these disciples had spent all night out here, 8 hours or so. They were hungry, they were tired, they were exhausted. They were just trying to cross the lake, and they had been stuck out there the entire time. Here comes Jesus walking on. In verse 26, it says this, when the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. Verse 27, Jesus immediately said to him, take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid. Verse 28 says, Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. 29, come, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. Now, Peter is seeing something that all of the disciples thought was a ghost. Jesus says, it's I, don't be afraid. And Peter says, hey, if it's you, tell me to come out to you on the water. Jesus says, all right, come on. And Peter, he got out the water. Crazy. He got out on the water, He got on the water, and he started walking to Jesus, beginning to do this. And Peter had the faith to where he could step out on the water, and the water would sustain them. Although the other disciples had spent all of this time, although all of them really had spent all of this time trying to get across. I said this on Sunday, and I think this is very important, is that your faith can keep you standing when others would sink. Your faith can uphold you when other people don't have the faith to do the things that you do. This is why it's important to have your faith, because it can do things that others can't do. When the disciples, they saw Peter get out, wasn't this the perfect time for them to get out too? Oh, we can walk on this water because Jesus is right here. He says, come, and this man is doing it. They didn't move. Why did they not move? Because they didn't have the faith to do what Peter did. Your faith can take you places that other people are afraid to go. That's why it is important to have your faith and not doubt. But so Peter was now on his way walking to Jesus, but we know what happens in verse 30. It says, but when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Verse 31, immediately Jesus grabbed his hand and called him, you of little faith. He said, why did you doubt? Peter had forgotten that he made it all the way to the Lord. He made it all the way over there, walking on faith, just to get over there, right there in his face, and then begin to sink. And what does Jesus say to him? Why did you have such little faith? Why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? There's the doubt. There's the word, right? Doubt that kills faith. But he also said this too, and I said this on Sunday, and I feel like this is borderline disrespectful. He said, ye of little faith, you of little faith, you Peter, little faith. Hold up. He called him little faith, right? Didn't he get out on the water and walk over there towards Jesus while the rest of the disciples sat there? Didn't he do that? Yet to get all the way over there and still to be called a man of little faith. But see, the truth of the matter is that Jesus, the Lord, he doesn't just want us to have faith. He wants us to have great faith. Jesus says multiple times through scripture, ye of little faith, oh, ye of little faith, you of little faith. You know, little faith is not a badge of honor, y'all. You know, he said it when he was talking to the fig tree, you must believe and not doubt. And James talks about it a little bit more. In James chapter 1, verse 6, it says, but when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. Verse 7, that man should not think he will receive anything from the Lord. He's a double-minded man, unstable in all he does. So believe and not doubt. Believe and not doubt. And so what we see here is that the Lord responds to faith. Doubt kills the faith. So the Lord won't respond to doubt, but he will respond to faith. He told Peter he had little faith. Why did he have little faith? Because the doubt set in right when he was getting to the goal that he had. Doubt kept Peter from being able to do the miraculous. It canceled his reward, it voided his transaction, and it makes you wonder how that happens towards us. What does doubt do to us? If it made Peter sink, what does it do for us? How many of our prayers and the things that we ask God for are nullified because of doubt? The Lord has so many different things that he wants to do for us, but we can allow our own doubts to get in the way. And this is the reason why Peter sank. What about the things, again, that we're trying to do? Is God not answering our prayers because we doubt that he can do them? That we doubt that that it's not meant for us, that he's not even listening, or if he's even there? Doubt is not fully believing. It's having unbelief. And some of us may have a decent foundation, but doubt will tear it all the way down to the bottom. It'll cause our foundations to rot. And the reasons we have doubt is many times we forget who our God is. In Mark chapter 9, verse 17, it says, a man in the crowd answered. He said, teacher, I brought to you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of his speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not. They couldn't do it. A man brought his son who was demon possessed to the disciples. They tried to cast out the spirit. He couldn't do it. And these are the same people who have been with Christ for quite a while. And so verse 19, Jesus says this, O unbelieving generation, Jesus said, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. Verse 20 says, so they brought him. And when the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. What does Jesus say? The disciples couldn't cast this spirit out. He says, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like frustration. Jesus had been here for a little while. He's trying to teach faith. He's trying to teach boldness. He's trying to get rid of doubt, but it seems like we still are getting slow in responding. Oh, unbelieving generation, saying that we don't quite grasp it yet. So the boy comes to him, starts convulsing just at the sight of Christ. Why? Because this boy knows, or the spirit within this boy knows that it's time. All right, his time is up. And verse 21, it says this, Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has he been like this? And his father answered, from childhood. Verse 22, has often thrown him into the fire or the water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. Verse 23, if you can, said Jesus. Everything is possible for him who believes. The man says to Jesus, we've done so much. This has happened to him since he was a kid. He's been a little boy and these particular things have gone on. Lord, anything you can do, we would appreciate. If you can do anything. And Jesus turns around and looks at him. Now remember, Jesus was already frustrated just a minute ago with the unbelieving generation. Now this man who wants his son healed says to him, if you can. Almost as if, do you know who you're talking to? He came to me. Now, do you believe I can do it or do you not believe? Because everything is possible to him that believes. But for you to get it, for him to get it, somebody got to believe. So, unbelief causes us to doubt what God can do for us. And it implies that sometimes the Lord can get frustrated with the prayers that we ask. Well, the Lord is saying, do you want me to help or not? Do you believe that I can do it or not? Do you want this healing or not? Do you want this blessing or not? Do you want this thing that I was already sending to you or not? Because your doubt is what will turn it around and send it back the other way. So what does his father say to him in verse 24? The father says, immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. And so when Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the evil spirit. You deaf and mute spirit, he said, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said that he's dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him to his feet, and he stood up. Some of us need to be reminded of who we believe in and work to build our unbelief. So how do we build our faith? Romans chapter 10 verse 17 says, consequently, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word of Christ. Faith comes from the word. Faith comes from hearing the word. Faith comes from being around the word. Faith comes from being in a position to where you can get the word. And not only just being in a position to get the word, also being in a good church where people are sharing the word, where people are encouraging one another, where people are sharing their stories of what God has done for them, because it helps your faith to know that God is still moving. You stand strong on that faith when trials come. Remember, doubt kills our faith. If you want more prayers being answered in your life, we have to start getting rid of our unbelief. And this is what we're going to be talking about this month. I hope that was a blessing, y'all. Until next time, y'all take care. If it was, please give it a like, share it with somebody that's greatly appreciated, and it helps our channel. Thank you all so much. Y'all take care. I'm Pastor Jim. God bless. See you soon.